Hello Aries, how are you? Today is April 15th. I'm gonna take a look at the cards for the rest of the month. We'll start off by pulling 3 of these face down for advice at the end. And then we'll take a look at what's going on. I don't know about you guys, so can I get 3 cards face down, please, for advice for Aries, April 15th to April 30th, 2020. 3 cards face down for advice for Aries. Okay. April 15th to April 30th. So, I don't know about you guys, but March was like endless. It lasted 2 years. And April's actually flying. I'll take that one. So, that's good news. We're still in lockdown. They've extended it until at least May 3rd, but that's primarily because there's 2 big holidays at the end of the month. The 25th is Liberation Day and the 1st is Labor Day, ironically, right? Labor Day, can't work. Usually people want to take that day off from work today. Now they want to go back to work. And Liberation Day, we will be celebrating basically at in-house arrest. Anyway, but yes, we have no ulterior news on that. I hope everyone is keeping safe, doing well, staying sane. Please take care of your mental health above all else, as it also affects your immune system. And try and avoid anxiety as much as possible. Anxiety or anxious thoughts. So let's get started. And hello, big news, Avi. Mercury is finally out of Pisces, out of what seemed like an eon. So you should have felt that immediately. And the planets are pretty good right now. I mean, let's say there's new energy, but we should be relatively used to that new energy. The next big movement will be when the nodes hit. And I think that'll be a really positive one because, anytime anything touches Cancer, it's tricky. So I think once it moves into Gemini, it'll probably get a little bit frenetic, but will at least be a little less heavy. Anyway, enough talk. Can I get the energy for Aries, please? For April 15th to April 30th, 2020. What energy can Aries expect? Okay, well, can't say it's wrong, right? Most of us are in lockdown or in some form of self-containment. So that looks like it will continue through the rest of the month, unsurprisingly. Let's get the challenge here. This card is also about what you do with your isolation and how you live it, right? And one of the things I wanted to mention at the beginning is I noticed that there's a lot of lethargy starting to creep into people. Whereas before it was a welcome change to go to the store. Now the idea of going to the store is it's hard to get out of bed. It's hard to do anything because our bodies are readjusting to its new universe. If your apartment, your 2-bedroom, 1-bedroom studio apartment is your entire universe right now, that's sort of the energetic field that it gets used to. So the question is also how we use this time in isolation. And I would suggest, as I said before, to be very wary of this is a great time to develop new habits. It's also a great time to develop new bad habits. So I would just advise you to try and stay, even if you're in isolation, try and get dressed. Still try and make the best out of it. Try and find reasons to sort of dress it up, as opposed to, I look at a lot of my neighbors and the poor guy across the street has been wearing the same pajamas for 4 days. So those are things that actually work against our mental health. So while you are in isolation, still try and I don't want to say make a party out of it, but events. Do something with that time. Try and find a way that it's not just you being locked in a room. What are the challenges, please, for April 15th? Okay, well, there's one clear message here. So aloneness. This is the Hermit. Sorry. And so that's what I said. It's like, yeah, okay. So this is what's going on. We can't fight it. It's useless to like try and, as they say, put lipstick on a pig. But let's use this time in a way, this card comes up frequently talking about there's the two options. You can stay in the dark or you can seek out the light. This way, you can stay in the isolation, but you can also get dressed up, and have a house party. We used to throw house parties all the time, even if they're just for ourselves. So the question is not like, these are the circumstances we find ourselves in. We're isolated. There's the possibility to go into sort of a dark place, to let this new energy, this anxiety sort of sweep over us. And that would be counterproductive for your mental, for your physical health. And there it is. This is also kind of like my anxiety card, right? Where you keep thinking about the same things again and again and again. I'm going to get another card. What wisdom, please, for Aries from April 15th to April 30th? So yes, if, like I said, these are habits, right? Then you can put when your brain doesn't know what to do because all of its old habits have been blown up, it starts to look for any form of constancy, any form of repetition, of habit. That's why these times are fantastic for new habit forming, because you find yourself in an obligated moment of having to rewrite it. So this is really a great time to start new positive habits. So instead of sleeping in until noon, maybe get up early and do that free writing that you wanted to do in the morning. Or, okay, yeah. All right, so the messages are pretty clear. Oh, and that's interesting. That's the 25 and the 26, right? So, but this is also, it's like, how do we find the way to be happy even in the dark, right? Like, what light can we see? Focusing on the light at the end of the tunnel, which frankly we don't know when it will be right now, and it may be well off into a distance that we don't know. Nobody has plans yet on what this looks like afterwards. So it's really about learning how to stay in this moment, and not projecting ourselves into sort of a dark future, or allowing this sense of isolation and sort of blue energy wash over us and get stuck in repetitive thinking that's negative, but really to try and focus on how to flip this card upside down, right? How, if we're in an unhappy moment right now, what new things can we do? What new simple habits can we build? What things have we always wanted to do? Small, right? Like, it doesn't have to be big. They just need to be small, and you have to just keep doing them with repetition. And this is sort of like finding the new habits, or setting a new path for the future on how you do things, is the way to develop this sort of flipping this upside down. Now, I was thinking while I was like pulling the cards out for this reading that, it's interesting. So I take yoga. I have my yoga studio that I go to that's not far. That's obviously been closed since we've been in lockdown. Now, the yoga studio pays a monthly rent. And also, electricity and taxes and whatnot and all that stuff. And so they have a really high overhead, and the classes, sometimes there's 3 people, sometimes there's 20. It's kind of unpredictable, But what they've been discovering is that since they've been offering online classes, that A, there's no overhead because the instructor just does it from her house. And there's more people in the classes. Now, there's more people in the classes, obviously, because we have nothing else to do, but she has a much wider audience. So this thing that they had never considered before, right? At the beginning, they were like, oh no, this is terrible for our business. We're going to lose a lot of money. Actually ended up being probably the best thing for them to expand their business, because now they're seeing classes with 25, 30 people. So they're actually, and they have no overhead. So they're making more money now in isolation and building up a wider client base than they ever would have if they had kept going the way they were going. So there is opportunity, it's not all misery. There is opportunity in the isolation. There is light somewhere in the dark. It's just a matter of perhaps breaking out of old habits, finding what new ones can actually build us to a more interesting future. Now, let's get the energy at the beginning, please. Man, when these cards want to tell one story, they're okay. So this is also a 26, so that's a 26 and a 26, but that's what I'm saying. 26, 26, those are eights. Eights are abundant. So even though it looks like a deep freeze, there's actually some abundance in there. It's just a question of finding it. And let's get a card for the end of the month. What card for the end of the month, please? What's the energy of the end of the month? Energy for the end of the month for Aries. Okay, well, things certainly look to be warming up, but see, it's a compass, right? So, and like I said, remember the compass points to the north node, or points to the North Star, and the nodes are going to be switching. So I think, and these two cards kind of like remind me of each other with these two sort of circular things. It's like you can keep going around in old habits, or you can point towards one specific direction, right? Which is kind of the way out. So how do we get, and this is a 25 and this is a 50. So it's like doubling down on one idea, flipping these, multiplying the habits to get to the indication to the way forward, or to the way out. Now let me get 3 more cards here. I don't know why I decided to go with like all of my Colette Baron Reid decks today. So this has a very common aesthetic here. Can I get 3 cards, please, for Aries, April 15th to April 30th? Okay, and there's the Hanged Man. So again, energies very clearly repeating themselves, trying to make sense of the situation, kind of giving up and, it's releasing and surrendering to what's going on around. 2 more cards, please, for Aries. I rarely have seen a reading like so tight in terms of its message. 2 more cards, please, for Aries, April 15th to April 30th. Eight of Cups, right? Moving forward towards a different future. 1 more card, please, for Aries. And there's that 8, remember? And this would be the third 8 that comes up, yes. So this is really what it says to me, is that the appearance is of sadness, right? And that may be what we're feeling on the surface right now. Underneath everything is, like, at the root of everything is a possibility to turn this moment into something that is abundant, be it materially, be it spiritually, be it psychologically. There is abundance in all of this. I mean, we've got 3 8s on the table. 1 more, please. 1 more card for Aries. And the 7 of Swords. Okay, so that one, I actually want to clarify that because that kind of sticks out. I mean, it's not because it's an unhappy card. Why is this Seven of Swords here? Why is this Seven of Swords here? Okay, I'll take the top of that because there's too many there. All right, sorry. So this is the World card. Now, hold on. Wait for it. Because there's the 12 and there's the 21, right? So again, flipping things on their head. So Seven of Swords is about like sneaking off, moving into something, doing so in a way that's shady. Actually, I want to read her, because she had written a sort of a different explanation of her cards, because she doesn't like this one, since it's the good tarot, it doesn't. Okay, so this talks about, okay, I'm glad I read this. So her Seven of Swords, or Seven of Air, means independence, non-conformity, living life on one's own terms without people-pleasing. Now is the time for me to live life on my own terms, so I must find the courage to reject conformity. Listening to my yearning for independence is the key to breaking free of groupthink and attending to my own needs. Diplomacy with others can help me to be true to my call, to do what I know I must do for myself. Right? So, and that's actually, you know what else is really interesting is we have a bunch of like single character, single, single. So this is very much about you, right? And about you digging into yourself, and about you digging into how you're responding to the current situation, but also how you're, and look at how much blue is on this table, how you're facing this next chapter and what you're going to do with this next chapter, and sort of seeking out, taking this moment, like maximizing this moment of full on universal pause, right? This deep freeze at a global level where nothing is moving, to understand how to sort of flip things, how to flip this moment of unhappiness into something that makes sense for you, right? Into understanding what you need to move towards to find your happiness and to find your abundance. And you see there's that big old chest of money right there. And this actually looks almost more like the Three of Wands card than I would say the traditional Eight of Cups card. But then at the end here, we get this world, right? Because we flipped the 12 into a 21, and have gone from this sort of gone from round and round, deep freeze. You know, this is at the heart of it. And we feel like we're going around in circles and nothing's changing. But really, we sort of thaw things out and find the direction forward. And it comes through creating new habits of happiness that we can actually take forward with us into the next chapter. Maybe for some, they will be new habits, new happy habits that are helpful to the rest of the planet, but also, you know, just in your own, if everybody is sad, the energy in the planet is sad. It takes positive energy to balance out what everyone else is putting out there. So part of this is also asking us to flip this energy to help elevate and lift the rest of humanity, right? Almost like a job that we have to do. So if you're feeling extraordinarily lethargic, can't get out of bed, don't see the point of doing anything, you know, just waiting for time to pass, it's a missed opportunity. And actually, it's not only a missed opportunity, there's something that's trying to come through, like an invitation, because this always talks about an invitation to a party that you don't necessarily go to. There is an invitation here, I would say, from, sorry, this goes there, from a higher level to find the light in the dark, to reflect on how this can actually, how this moving forward, how this standing up for oneself can actually turn your situation around. And look, there's the key there, right? And unlock the key. There's the 3 dimensions all aligning, right? That there's some sort of planetary alignment here that's happening that will be part of the way forward. You see, what's interesting about this compass is that it's not entirely aligned, right? It's like in the process of being aligned. And here, oh, that's so interesting. It's pointing to Aquarius. So that's where the Saturn is. So, okay, so one of my astrologers who I love, Ann Ortley, New York, check her out if you can. She used to have this whole thing about do your Saturn. Which means that Saturn is like your work. It's the one thing you don't want to do. But when you do your Saturn, that tends to unlock the rest of your chart, because it's in doing that activity that's your karmic gift to the universe, right? So I would say take this time to explore Saturn in Aquarius and what that means for you in your own chart, where it plays out, what connections it makes. But there is an opportunity here to change habits, to accept an invitation, to find light in the dark, to rethink your life, right? And how and your future direction, which actually leads to a really amazing place. That's it, that will pull you more into alignment and will flip these cards on their head, thawing this one, getting you out from patterns and really pointing you in a very specific direction. Okay, that feels like I want to get an advice card from here, and then we'll look at the other ones. Can I get an advice card for Aries, April 15th to April 30th? So really, I would say use this time wisely. Another blue card. This one is the Ascended Master, Mother Mary, and Celestite, and the card is Unconditional Trust. Now, let's read this, although I'm pretty sure I know what it's going to say. Ooh, almost knocked my coffee over. 31. Okay, so we bring you the blessing of unconditional trust. There are times when trust comes easily. Perhaps life is proceeding according to some sort of plan, or you have enough money to feel safe, sufficient prospects on the horizon to feel excited, and enough love in your relationship to feel wanted and valued. Then there are times when it is harder to trust. Perhaps none of the above applies to you. You are lost, feeling alone and confused, and without a clear picture, or a clear picture or a sign of hope ahead. You may be frightened and just want something to lift you out of the darkness. God, these things are incredible. And into the light. Your mind and perhaps your family and friends might tell you that this is a time that is crazy to trust. They may tell you that you should try to fix yourself, get real, give up, and get on with life. Do not listen to doubts or negativity in others or yourself. It is safe to trust. The Divine Mother is watching over you and will guide you safely into the new life awaiting you now. Amazing. I'm actually going to read more of this because these are really cool and this isn't that long. Okay, so the Oracle of Unconditional Trust says to you that this is the time when you need to trust the most. This is the time when you need to trust unconditionally. You may feel comfortable doing this, or you may feel deeply challenged by this idea. You may feel there is no particular evidence that you should trust, and yet you'll happily do it anyway. Or maybe you feel that trusting without a sign that things are going to improve is beyond you. Either way, this oracle brings you a message. The divine is looking out for you. For the weary and anxious mind, unconditional trust can bring such relief. The idea that you don't have to keep worrying and that everything is going to work out according to a higher plan and divine grace can soothe away mental anguish and emotional suffering. If it is a difficult time for the mind to let go, it might prefer to keep worrying and try to work things out. This could be especially so if you've relied upon people before and been let down, or don't feel absolutely certain the universe loves you and has your best interests at heart to always act for your greatest good. Kind of a run-on sentence there. But if the mind is in a fear response like this, it needs to be reassured. It needs to understand why you are in a situation where unconditional trust is being asked of you in the first place. There may be many reasons, some of which you come to understand in hindsight. Right? That's also like this, like looking back on things. There is one reason that is always true, however, and it may help your mind to relax a little and allow your heart to take over. This reason is that the divine wants to be more involved in your life. It wants to help you avoid unnecessary pitfalls, pains, and obstacles, and only go through the suffering absolutely essential for your growth. That is so much less than what we fear or expect it to be. It wants you to be filled with divine love and to live a life that is increasingly free, graceful, and blessed. So you inspire others to trust unconditionally too, right? That's like what I said, unlocking your role in the universe. How can this happen? Only when you allow the divine unrestricted access to your life. The only way you can do it is by trusting unconditionally. Okay, so I'll just read this last piece. And then actually there's an invocation here. I'll leave it. I'll type it up and leave it in the description box. So it says, when this oracle comes to you, it brings guidance. It's safer to trust unconditionally in the divine guiding hand than the limited perspective of your own mind at this time. The divine can and will navigate you safely through your life journey if you allow it. You don't have to be afraid. You'll handle whatever you need to handle and you'll do it well. But you have the opportunity to avoid unnecessary suffering and enjoy a smoother journey by trusting unconditionally that your affairs are going to work out, exceptionally well. Why not take that opportunity for yourself and for the divine to manifest itself even more brilliantly through you into the world? Do that for yourself now and for the rest of us by trusting that everything is working out. Okay? So I don't really think I need to comment. That seems really, really, really clear. So let's get on to these cards here. So if you picked this one, this card says Lemuria, creating heaven on earth. It's happening. Let me read that for you. Now this deck is kind of freaky, but I like it. But this is another one where they don't. Okay, Lemuria, 114. Here we go. Lemuria, or Mu, is one of Earth's lost lands where heaven really was a place on Earth, a time before we were kicked out of the Garden of Eden. In Lemuria, life worked in harmony. All beings were seen as equal, and we were deeply reverent to Mother Earth. We knew that a mosquito was no worse than us and the sun no better. Perhaps you too believe that heaven really can be a place on earth. Perhaps you are a part of the transition team who at a soul level are devoted to creating this kind of harmony on the planet now. Thank you for wanting to do this work. It's easy to get over Wow. It's easy to get overwhelmed by the state of affairs on the planet right now, but you are being encouraged to keep holding the clear vision of the future. It's closer than you think. You may be guided to hold the frequency of Lemuria in your own community, family, workplace, or within yourself. Know that it is possible, and while at times it may feel like you are alone, you are truly not. There are hundreds of thousands who hold the codes of this ancient lost land, and even Lemuria crystals that hold the codes of remembering that are beginning to rise all over the planet. Keep doing what you are doing, and remember, the only way to heal the world around us is to first heal ourselves. Amazing. Okay, so let's do this one. So this is the Sisterhood of the Rose, Beauty and Devotion, Priestess, Mystic, Teacher. I feel like these are all like your callings, right? That's like this. So it's like if you were looking for your compass or a clue on how to like break out of all this, these kind of seem to be giving those messages. All right, so Sisterhood of the Rose, page 78. Okay. The Sisterhood of the Rose is a lineage of priestesses and mystics who devoted their life to serving humanity and seeding light consciousness all over the earth. A cross-section of ancient lineages, it is the path of devotion and beauty. Walking this path means being devoted to seeing and creating beauty wherever you go. The rose symbolizes the heart and the sacred geometry of all life. You are being called to notice the beauty around you, particularly in nature, and hear the whispers of Mother Earth. You are being called to spend more time in nature, as all the ancient secrets live there. Mother Earth is constantly whispering. Spend time admiring her creations, and you will be rewarded with insight and grace. You are being called to take a little more time to both notice the beauty that exists all around you and contribute to the beauty of the world in your own way too. This could be through your own creations or in the little things like how you dress to picking flowers for your home. Every time you devote your time to creating beauty, you harmonize the planet a little more and shift in vibration can be felt. Amazing. And then this last one, here we have transformation. Things are changing at a cellular level. Deep healing. Let me read that one for you. Sorry for my voice. My allergies are so bad today. Okay, like legit. If you're working on a deck, okay, can I please ask you to number your cards so that the people can find what they're looking for? I cannot find, there it is, 106. Just some practical things. User experience. Okay, things are changing at a cellular level. You are not who you were a year ago or who you will soon be. You are in between, emerging, half risen, half falling. Keep doing your work. You are transforming. You will look back at this time with awe. So much is happening in your inner world and within your cells. It's time to release the old ways of being that have kept you in fight, flight, freeze mode. To choose a new way of being where trauma is not the driving force. Old childhood patterns are rising up to be healed. As you allow yourself to observe them and feel them without attachment, they loosen their grip and fall away. You are being called to find new ways to self-soothe. Saturn and the Black Madonna and the African goddess Ocean influence this card. Amazing. Saturn represents destruction and transformation. The Black Madonna represents the underground and all that has been cast aside. And Ocean represents the tender love of the original mother, right? And then we have Master Mother Mary here. So a rethreading is happening, healing at the deepest of levels. While you are in this phase, do not put yourself under pressure to perform. You may need to review your relationship with your body, perhaps even shifting your diet or exercise regime or getting energetic healing support. You may also need to consider some kind of emotional support as issues from your childhood may come up to be healed. You are deeply loved. Okay, so wow, what a really intense reading. Okay, but looks like interesting time. It looks like here there's like some sort of calling to arms, like figuring out what it is that we're going to do to feel abundant, to bring abundance, getting our sort of marching orders on what it is that we contribute in our own life, what our compass is, but also helping guide humanity into this alignment, unlocking what it is that we need to do to bring this into alignment, breaking out of habits, seeking the light in the dark, not allowing the dark to overwhelm us, trusting that even in the dark there is light at the end of the tunnel. And again, with these eights, you know, that even though the perception may be that things are frozen, that this is a time of unhappiness, it's actually a time of moving forward, of abundance. And so to focus our energy and attention on that and trust that even if you can't see it, doesn't mean it's not there. And to avoid giving into these sort of worldly, earthly energies of fear, sadness, and isolation, that these will take us down a very dark and unpleasant path, and we really need to break out of that and move. And look at all this, like, you see how it sort of like changes. It starts off like very sort of dark here and starts to get lighter and lighter and lighter, and then the fire element really comes in towards the end here. All right, awesome. Wishing you a very happy end of the month, April, and I will see you next time. Take care.